Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. Today I'm so excited because I finished in the last week Stonewielder, Book 3 of Ian Esslemont's Novels of the Malazan Empire. And my goodness, this was not as great of a read as I thought it would be. I was quite disappointed by this book, but not greatly disappointed because, and this is something I found out after releasing my Return of the Crimson God video, but I did not realize how little people enjoyed Ian's books. I think people are really harsh on him because I enjoy his writing. I enjoy most of the characters in Return of the Crimson God, and I borderline love that book. If you watch my review, it is very obvious how much fun I had reading that book. But this book, I had more troubles with reading it. I thought the pacing was not as strong as Return of the Crimson God. It took a substantial amount of the book for me to get invested in the characters. And this is the characters of Greymane and Kyle, who I really enjoyed in the last book. But Greymane in this book is reinstated into the Malazan Empire by Emperor Malazan, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that scene when he finds out that he's been reinstated. And Kyle, he's standing by, and Greymane is like, "Hey, you're my adjunct now." And I just was so surprised by that, and I thought that was really fun. But after that, I really didn't get anything that interesting to me in regards to the storyline, because there's a lot of standing around and talking to each other about the Malazan Empire, because in the beginning of this book, we get news that the Malazan Empire has sort of fractured, because there's the Sixth Army who has sort of rebelled and have become their own, I guess, contingent of the Malazan Empire, and they are storming the continent of Corelli, which is where this book completely takes place in. So this is our first look into Corelli, and I loved it. I really enjoyed finally getting some eyes on this continent, because we get a lot of word about the Storm Wall and the Storm God and the Ice Riders and the Storm Riders, I believe they're called. And I really enjoyed that aspect of this book, exploring the lore and the world of Malazan and getting a lot more details about Corelli and about the Storm Wall and all of that. But it took a substantial amount of the book for me to care about the characters at these locations, because we have three storylines going on in this book. The first one is regarding Greymane, Kyle, and this awesome mage. I actually really enjoyed her point of view chapters. Devilith is her name. She's one of the squad mages, and I really enjoyed Devilith. I thought she was the best part of the storyline. They are at the Storm Wall. They are getting details. Or not, they're not at the Storm Wall, excuse me. They are part of this other Malazan contingent that are going onto the continent of Corelli, and they're trying to take over and have their own sort of territory. And Greymane, obviously being a big anti-Malazan or anti-Empire guy, he wants to figure out what he can do to counter this. And so he's talking with Kyle for most of the page count of this book, trying to figure out what he can do. And no one... So Kyle doesn't really do much. A lot of people in the storyline constantly talk about how young he is as an adjunct, and sort of how much they respect him and respect Greymane, but we don't really see them do anything. And this is one of the criticisms I have of this book, is that there's just way too much sitting around and talking to each other. And I think this storyline particularly, with Greymane and Kyle and Devilith, just was not my liking at all. And Devilith, I was very happy was there, because she was such an enjoyable character to read. I really enjoyed getting her perspectives. And we also have a second storyline, which is on the shield wall itself, or the storm wall, I believe. And it's through the commander of it named Hiam, or Hyam. And he is sort of running the logistics of protecting the wall, protecting the ice wall so the storm riders can't get through. Because there's prophecies that we hear about where these riders are eventually going to break down this wall and the entire land is going to be flooded. And that just means death for everybody. And so Hyam, he is trying to keep this wall manned as efficiently as possible, keep the repairs going because they don't have enough men. So he just has to really delegate smartly, because if he doesn't, then everything's just going to fall apart, because they are so at the edge of the chasm and at the edge of the abyss, going into the abyss, that they really need to get more people here. And so that's his entire storyline, is him doing this. I actually enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed reading all of his plans, all of him trying to organize forces in order to defend the wall effectively. I enjoyed it, but I thought there could have been more going on. It got a little repetitive for me. For every point of view, basically a new problem would appear, and he would have to solve it. I don't mind that on its own, but I wanted a little bit more with that. Maybe more details about the Storm Riders themselves. I was really, really wanting, and I think I mentioned this in my Return of the Crimson God video, but I really want a point of view chapter or even story from the point of view of the Storm Riders. I really wanted them to be fleshed out, because through all three of these books, and Knight of Knives, Return, and this one, we get details on the Storm Riders and how they're trying to kill everybody, but we don't really get any idea of what they're actually trying to do, because throughout the Malazan books, we hear about these cultures and these peoples where they're trying to break through something. They're trying to reach some destination, and we don't know what they're trying to do. And so if I had known what they were trying to do, and it's not just kill everybody, then I would have cared about the Storm Riders a lot more. But I don't know, we just never got a perspective from them. Maybe we don't need one, because they are just ravenous creatures just trying to take over and turn everything to ice. But I don't believe that. I think there is something deeper going on with this culture and with this civilization, because they are so... there's one character, I think it's in Knight of Knives or in this book, but it happens a few times where a character is fighting one of the Storm Riders, and he finds out, or he notices, that they're human and that they are sort of hesitating on fighting. And in one particular chapter in this book, one of the defenders notices a Storm Rider isn't even trying to kill anybody, it's just trying to take apart a particular section of the wall. And I was like, that is, we need to see inside the head of somebody on the side of the Storm Riders, because I want to know more. I want to know, everything. I just want to know more. I don't need to know everything, obviously, but just some sort of... It doesn't even have to be a long chapter, or even a perspective. It could just be a few paragraphs of them, giving the plans and what they're trying to do. I don't know. I just wanted more out of the Storm Riders this book, but I did really enjoy the logistics part. One of my favorite books is actually The Goblin Emperor, and his chapters with Hyam were very similar to that book, where special problems or unique problems were coming up and they had to solve it. And I love that type of storyline. I just wanted more out of this book specifically. But while Hiam is at the Storm Wall, we also have Iron Bars, who is locked up. And he is he's really not doing much. Maybe I just completely misread it. Maybe I was just skimming it too much, but it felt like... Oh, it didn't really feel like anything. It just... Iron Balls didn't do much. He has a few conversations with a couple characters. We learn about Dasim Orto and how he was one of the champions on the wall and he was in charge of defending the wall. And I really love that. I love finding that out. That answers one of my questions, which is, where was Dasim, like, the entirety of the story, up until book 5. And now I know he was on the shield wall, under or against his will, having to defend it against storm riders, and he escaped. So then we get a new champion named Hagen, who is this big giant, and he is so fun. I really enjoyed his perspective, but in terms of Iron Bars specifically, I really wanted him to do more in this book. I just wanted him to not just be in a cell for the entire book, and that's what he did for a substantial amount until the epilogue, when he reunites with Skinner, which I thought was an amazing moment. But I really, really enjoyed, I guess, this third story, which I'll get into. So we also have Bakuna, who is the chief assessor of Barneth. And he is one of my favorite point of views in this book, because it reads very much like Glocta's point of view in the first Law trilogy. It's just really fun. I don't really remember too much from the storyline of what he did, because a lot of it is so spy and logistics based, just like Hiam's storyline, or Hiam. And I just really wanted, I guess, more characters in that storyline to be memorable. Because if it wasn't for Bakuna in that storyline, it would have been so hard for me to stay invested in it. But I did really enjoy Bakuna. But we also have the storyline of Kiska and this mystery guy named Jevil. And I just want to say, but one of my main criticisms of Malazan that I haven't shared before, and this book really made me mad in this regard, but not mad to the point where I'm gonna take off 2 stars or whatever, but I think I'll just take off half a star for this. But Kiska runs into a mystery person who is hauling this big dead fish across the Warren of Shadows, or the Realm of Shadow, I'm sorry. The entire story is Kiska has been tasked by the Queen of Dreams to go find Taishrin, because at the end of Return of the Crimson Guard, he is sucked into a Warren and just gone. We haven't seen him since. We don't know what happened. He doesn't show up in book 10 of the Crippled God, so we don't really know what's going on. And in this book, we are trying to find him. That's the primary goal. She runs into this guy named Jevil, who is dragging a fish. Maybe. No, it's not him. So Jevil is this random mercenary guy that the Queen of Dreams knows, and she puts him with Kiska to go into the Realm of Shadow to go find Taishrin. That's the mission. And the Queen of Dreams doesn't tell her who this guy is. She knows who he is, but she tells Kiska, like, he's a good helper. I want him to go find Taishrin. He's very important to Taishrin. And so my mind was going. And for the entire book, we don't know who this Jevil is. And at the very last second, in the final few pages, we get this mention of this character named Jayashul, who is the one of the daughters of Osric, or Osric, yeah. And so we've never seen her before, and she sees this guy, Jevil, and she's like, hey, you are Leomin of the Flails. And my brain, like, exploded at that moment, because I was like, oh my god, like, I knew he was somebody I already knew. I haven't read any of the Malazan books for about half a year. I've been busy with other series, but I feel like even if I had known that it was Leoman, like from just what I know of him, I feel like it wouldn't have mattered because I really wanted. This is. I need to slow down. Sorry. Okay, so one of my main criticisms about Malazan that are within both Ian's books and Ian's books and also Stephen's books. Sorry, they kind of rhyme in my head. Is that they both do not reveal who these characters are until way after I want to even know. What I mean by this is that I moderately enjoyed Jevil. I thought he was fun the entire book. I was interested in his personality. I wanted to know more about his background, but it's in the last second, seems like, of the story that we finally know that, and I'm like, damn, I would have been far more invested in Jevil had I known from the beginning that this was Leoman. I had no idea about it, so I was like, okay, this is just another new character. And I just really would like these personalities or these people to just maybe have a point of view through their own eyes where they think, yes, I remember when I betrayed everybody at, Dead House Gates and everyone hated me because my name was Leoman. Like, I would have been far more invested in the story had I known that a lot sooner. And this issue was also prevalent with the character of Dasim. I had a really strong hankering that it was Dasim, this traveler character. But I was talking to a friend of mine who just finished up Malazan, and he complained about this a lot. Where he was like, I know this is Dasim. Why can't the author just, confirm this for me? Why can't it just be a point of view character from this character's point of view where he thinks to himself, I am Dasim, or whatever, gives a confirmation. He doesn't have to tell anybody that he's Dasim Ortoy or Leoman or whoever, but it is so frustrating to me as a reader to be reading these books and have these hundreds of characters in my head and all of these details and how they relate to each character, and they don't just tell me, so it's easier for me. Because now, when I'm thinking back to this book, I'm rating it at a 7.5, but as I was reading this book, it felt more like a 5.5, 6 for me, because I was so frustrated by the repetitiveness in terms of the Shield Wall chapters, in terms of Greymane and Kyle talking about all the plans and what the Malazan Empire is doing. But it was Kiska's story that I was really interested in. I really enjoyed her character. I love the storyline of them hunting after this Warren, and they meet this demon civilization where they were fishermen and they loved fishing. That was the main source of survival. And this Warren came up and it sucked out all the entire lake. So it's just a dry lake bed now. And so these demons are traveling all across the realm of shadow. And we also have the Tice Leozen traveling through the realm of shadow. I loved it all. This was my favorite storyline of this book, if not of all of Ian's books. But we also meet this really eccentric character named Warren, who is traveling, and this is the guy with the fish I was talking about. He is just dragging a fish across the realm of shadow. It's this big tuna. He really needs to chop it up and turn it into sushi, because tuna sushi is the best, if you don't know. And this guy, I was so ready to know, who he was. And I thought he was Taishran the entire book. And it's not until the very end of the prologue, or not prologue, but the epilogue, that we are finally learning who this guy is. And it's Shadow Throne. He is just wandering the realm of shadow, looking for Taishran. He's helping Kiska and Leoman find Taishran. And I was really frustrated because even though I was really enjoying his character, I don't know, this was the way to do it. And that at the end of the epilogue, like, I don't know, I thought it was Tayshrin, but it ended up being Shadow Throne, which I thought was great, but I was really frustrated how at the end of the epilogue, he's talking with someone, and it just says the other guy. And he's talking, he's like, yeah, you know, this was such a waste of time. Why were you here, Shadow Throne? Like, you know, whatever. And he talks about how, Shadow Throne thinks to himself, like, oh, Cody, like, Coty, like, so this is Cotillion. Like, Cotillion and Shadow Throne. I thought that was a great reveal. I enjoyed it, but it made me mad that he did this with Shadow Throne, but he didn't have this with Leomund. Because, I don't know, it just felt like Leomund was revealed far too late. Shadow Throne was very interesting on his own, like as Warren. But the moment that he revealed it, I was like, oh yeah, of course it's Shadow Throne. And like, I enjoy it conceptually, but I don't know, I'm tired of these hidden, I guess, personalities and hidden identities. Like, it's so annoying to me. Trying to read these 13 plus books now, the 10 Malazan books by Erickson, and now these books. It's really hard to keep these details straight when we're introduced to new names and new sides of these characters. It's really hard, and I feel like my brain is like about to explode. So I'm really excited to read Orb Scepter Throne. I haven't been able to find it in a bookstore anyway, so I'm continuing to look for it. So I don't know when I'll be able to read it, but I will try to read it soon. As I said earlier, I was going to give this book like a 7.5, but this way... So 2 out of the 3 storylines I did not really like. I really enjoyed how Greymane just shows up to the wall at the end of the book and plunges his big sword into it, and it just explodes and all the water comes in. But I didn't really see the purpose of it, because he ends up just murdering the entire continent, feels like. The entire continent floods. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say I hate it, because as cool as it is that he's able to do that with the sword, and it was a very cinematic moment, I do not like that he did that. I think Greymane just really made me mad this book. When he is brought back into the Malazan Empire by Emperor Malacrel, and then he stands around and talks about how bad the Malazan Empire is and how he doesn't want to be a part of that. But then he does this. And I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this, because I don't like it at all. I don't know what his purpose of doing this was. So please correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm missing something, because I would love to know. But, yeah, I'm really excited about, I think it's book 5, because that one's called A Sail. And there's a point in this book where we're given some details about some of the captains on the ship were going to A Sail, and a bunch of, like, demon children basically shot at them with these bows and boarded and killed everybody, and realized one of them was actually not dead, and he escaped and was able to tell people about the Forkula Cell. But I really want to know more about... no, maybe it was the Segula that boarded the ship. But, yeah, I'm really excited for that, because that means that we're going to eventually go there in one of these books. And I want to know more about that civilization, about what they're doing, why are they so protective of this land. Like, it's really fascinating. So I think that's all I have to say about this book. I, for the most part, enjoyed it, like, just slightly. But 2 out of 3 storylines I ended up not liking, so I don't feel comfortable giving it more than a 7. And my problems that I have with it, I think, put it down at least below a 7. So I'm thinking like a 6, maybe a 6.5. But I did really enjoy the Kiska and Leomund storyline. it was just really annoying how there was so many details withheld from the reader, seemingly to me, for no reason, because I would have enjoyed it a lot more had I known ahead of time that it was these people that were part of the storyline. So, thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.